Morning, everybody. I'm Dr. K.C. Srikanth, Associate Professor at Nizam Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad. My talk is on supracondylar fracture humerus, reduction methods, and pinning. I'll restrict only to reduction methods and pinning. I have a video recording of a surgical technique, but I could not concise it and edit it. So I took snapshots of the video and I have incorporated in one of the case examples to discuss the surgical technique. I'll go by case examples. A 7-year-old boy with posterolaterally displaced fracture, the medial spike presented with pink pulseless hand, close reduction and pinning, 2 parallel pins from lateral side with good pin distance, good lateral view, anterior humeral line passing the capital, passing through the capital. That is the follow-up. I'll discuss the surgical technique using this case as an example. A 12-year-old child with posteromedially displaced fracture has radial nerve palsy. The distal end of the proximal fragment is compressed the radial nerve. The child is put on a table at the edge of the table. A cloth is used like this for extra support if needed for counter traction. Forearm is strapped to the table with the tape by some surgeons. It is always important, most important to have the C-arm parallel to the table. The C should be, we should be able to rotate the C-arm and get a lateral view. And we should take care that the anesthesia equipment is away from the C-arm, and monitor will be opposite the surgeon on the other side of the table. A lot of surgeons have the habit of using this part of the C-arm as a table and rotating the arm to get a lateral view. It's not a good idea to rotate the arm because we may lose the reduction. Many fractures, we have type 3 fractures, unstable patterns, and type 4, very, very unstable fracture patterns. We cannot rotate the arm. Always rotate the C-arm and not the arm. This is the initial X-ray on AP view. Here, my assistant is giving counter traction and I'm giving traction. It's a posteromedially displaced fracture. So my assistant is pushing the proximal fragment medially, and I am trying to push the proximal fragment laterally along with giving traction. And correcting the medial lateral alignment is the first important step, along with a rotational malalignment. And only then we have to go for sagittal alignment by putting the thumb over the olecranon and trying to flex the distal fragment. And assess the lateral view by rotating the C-arm. And we have to pronate the arm. In this case, we are pronating the arm because it's a posteromedially displaced fracture. And get an AP view by Jones view or distal humerus view but very difficult to assess on Jones view. So we have to internally rotate both forearm and the arm together to get a lateral column view, and externally rotate together to get a medial column view. And later on, in type 3 fractures, posterior cortical hinge is gone, posterior periosteal hinge is also gone. So do not hyperflex. We have to do right amount of flexion to get a good lateral view. Small amount of rotational malalignment is there, but it can be accepted. Not that it will remodel, but that shoulder will compensate for it. It is most important to get a varus valgus alignment. Anterior humeral line, if you pass here, it is going through the capitulum. So here, it is also important to remember teardrop or hourglass on lateral view. Whenever possible, we have to try to appreciate it on the lateral view. Regarding pinning, hold the pin with hand and then pierce the chondroepiphysis by checking AP and lateral view and planning your trajectory prior to the pin placement. Engage the chondroepiphysis and then attach the drill and drive the wire. A folded towel is kept beneath the elbow so that we can get enough room for pinning. 1 or 2 additional wires are added by checking lateral view and Jones view, internal external oblique views repeatedly. At the end of the procedure, elbow is extended and true AP and true lateral views are got by rotating the arm. If you are able to get AP and lateral views by rotating the arm, that means our reduction is stable rotationally. And this is a transorbicularis fossa quadricortical purchase pin. Here also we got such a pin passing through 4 cortices, orbicularis fossa pin. No doubt it limits the extension. No problem. Anyway, we are going to do ROM only after pin removal. Here there is medial comminution. That is why, and moreover, the child is 12-year-old. That's why I put a cast. Otherwise, I generally put a slab. And this presence of medial comminution is an indication for medial pin or cross pinning. But here he already had a radial palsy, so I do not want to jeopardize his learner. Regarding pin configuration, generally 2 pins are enough, either parallel or divergent. Pin distance is very important. On an AP view, the pin distance should be at the fracture should be 13 millimeter or at least 1/3 of the width of the fracture. The pin is 1/3 of the width of the fracture. If necessary, 3 pins can also be put if it is unstable. On the lateral view, the distal humerus is anteriorly angulated. More bone is available anteriorly. So on lateral view, one of the wires, it is better to put from anterior to posterior like this. Cross pinning, they say it is 4.5 times riskier for an ulnar nerve, but I generally use only lateral pinning. But if I do 100 cases of lateral pinning and you do 100 cases of cross pinning, you get 2 less cases of loss of fixation, but 5 more cases of ulnar nerve injury. That is the essence of this article. It is up to you to choose what to do. Another indication for medial pin or cross pinning is medial obliquity fracture. Oblique pattern of fracture which goes from distal lateral to proximal medial. In this scenario, there is not enough amount of bone laterally to get 2 or 3 pins. In this situation, medial pin is warranted. How to put a medial pin? It's never in flexion. In flexion, the ulnar nerve comes anteriorly. It may be a risk, so it has to put in extension with the thumb over the ulnar nerve, trying to push the ulnar nerve behind and try to engage the medial epicondyle just anterior to it with the pin in your hand and then drive the pin. If necessary, give a small stab incision on the medial epicondyle, locate the bone and then drive the pin. Dorgans, so-called Dorgans cross pinning, both the wires are put from the lateral side, but it may preserve the ulnar nerve, but radial nerve is at risk. I don't have any personal experience with this. A 9-year-old girl, posterolateral fracture, type 3 Gartland. Here we have a habit of, in some cases, unstable cases, to drive a lateral pin intramedullary. If it is driven long enough, we have seen that it gives excellent stability, not only maintaining, getting the reduction, but also holding the reduction. Another such example of intramedullary wire used as a for reduction, lateral displaced fracture is well aligned because of this pin. Another such example where we have demonstrated for ourselves that a single wire gives lot of stability. But always we have used this technique in several cases long before past 10-15 years. Even before we saw this article in JPO 2013, where in globally unstable type 4 Gartland fracture, the author has used a wire into the distal fragment even before the reduction, holding the distal fragment, getting a control of the distal fragment, getting a reduction on AP and lateral view, and then driving the pin proximally. An example of a 7-year-old boy, posterolaterally displaced fracture, anteromedial ecchymosis is seen, close reduction and lateral pinning. That is the follow-up. Shankar et al. Have described 3 types of errors in pin placement. Type A error, one of the pins doesn't have a purchase in the proximal bone at all. Type B, one of the pins entered into the lumen but does not have a bicortical purchase. Type C, both the pins cross at the fracture site. That is, there is no pin-pin distance at all. Examples of type C error. Here probably the surgeon didn't want to go through this physis, but we have to go through the capitulum to get a pin-pin distance. Otherwise, both the pins act like a single pin. Another example of type C error. A case of 12-year-old boy I have operated around 9 years ago, posteromedially displaced fracture. I thought I did a good job, good pin-pin distance, parallel pins, but on follow-up, he went into varus collapse, cubitus varus deformity. If I analyzed carefully. There was a medial comminution, so it is an indication for medial pinning, or at least an extralateral pin, because this wire is not holding much of the bone proximally. This wire is not holding much of the bone distally. It is not just the pin distance, it is the pin configuration, like how angular is the pin is put and how proximally one of the wires is holding the opposite cortex. All that matter in getting a good stable fixation. Pin leverage technique, like in distal radius or both bones distal and fracture, where we get a bayonet opposition, often we put a joystick into the fracture and try to get a reduction. Very similar technique, a wire can be put from posterior to anterior into the fracture site, and fracture can and reduction can be achieved by leverage technique. Very useful technique. Some authors have used intrafocal Kappanji type of technique, where a pin is put into the fracture and pierce anterior cortex so that the distal fragment is pushed anteriorly. Flexion type of injuries are rare but very difficult to manage. Here, the author has used transolecranon pin. The wire, usually we get reduction in extension or at the max 90 degrees of flexion. So a wire is passed into the olecranon, into the distal fragment, and after manipulation getting a reasonable reduction, it is driven into the medulla. After putting one or two pins, 2 or 3 pins, this wire is removed. Another useful technique for flexion type of fractures, push-pull method, where a flexion type of fracture is pushed with the elbow at 90 degrees to convert it into an extension type of fracture and then pulled to bring it back into position. Lot of times we see this kind of reduction on lateral view with a beak. That means there is no cortical alignment, there is rotational malalignment. A lot of surgeons have used try to get hold of proximal fragment by putting a pin distal to the deltoid insertion, or probably this method is better suited. A pin is placed in the proximal fragment 1.5 centimeter above the fracture site by passing from the posterolateral aspect. Posterolateral aspect, if you pass, radial nerve is not at risk, or posterior to anterior, we can put one wire and stop short at the anterior cortex, get a hold of the proximal fragment, and then correct rotational malalignment. A word about arm board technique by Dr. Sandeep Patwardhan sir. I have seen him do to operate 2 or 3 cases. Very useful, beautiful technique. I've tried to incorporate it into my practice, but I could not. They say every man is a prisoner of his own past experiences. I've been doing supracondylar pinning past 10 to 15 years. Very difficult to change, but very useful technique. Has it very advantages. Is very much available on YouTube. I recommend postgraduates and young surgeons to have a look at it. To summarize, steps of reduction. First, it is traction, most important. Correct the rotations, get a AP view, correct AP view by medial and lateral translation. Only then go for flexing the distal fragment by putting a thumb on the olecranon, and check the lateral view by rotating the arm, rotating the C-arm, sorry, not the arm, and get a Jones view. While assessing the Jones view, we have to internal rotate to get the lateral column view, external rotate to get the medial column view, and pronate the forearm for posteromedial displaced fractures, keep it in supination for posterolateral displaced fractures. 2 or 3 pins from the lateral side. Pin distance is very important. At least 1/3 of the width of the fracture should be the distance between the 2 pins. Put medial pin whenever it is necessary, like in medial comminution or medial obliquity pattern fracture. In type 4 Gartland, globally unstable variety of fracture, an intramedullary K-wire or intrafocal joystick at the fracture site, very useful techniques to get reduction. Sometimes we have to get a hold of the proximal fragment by putting a pin in the proximal fragment from posterolateral or posterior aspect to correct rotational malalignment. Flexion type of injuries are rare, but techniques such as push-pull method or transolecranon pin definitely help in flexion type of fractures. Thank you for your kind attention.